Welcome back, y'all.
How's it going?
It's Sports and Spirits. And this time, Josh brought a spirit.
Yeah.
Here it is. The brand new 10-year Sagamore Rye. You tried this one yet?
I have not, no. They last year they did a 9-year-old. So this year they released a 10. And there's been some really good reviews, but it's just hitting the markets here in Minnesota. That's where we're based. And so it's something to definitely look out for on your whiskey shopping.
Yeah.
You know,
Sagamore does it right. Does rye.
They
right.
do. It's based out in Maryland, if you guys didn't know.
Yep.
It's definitely one of those that's a little bit a ways away from, the hub that is like your Kentucky and Nashville, but they do make some really good rye whiskey.
So good. Their double oak rye is phenomenal.
Yeah, which is your regular shelf item that you can always find most places. But that's a limited release from them, so something to look out for.
And if you're looking for a shelf to find all these things at, go to 7-8 Liquor in Bloomington, Minnesota.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
It's a fantastic spot.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
Love it. Also, if you want to see a review on this bad boy, go over to Rare Barrel Whiskey.
There you go.
On YouTube. Check it out. But that's the spirits. Let's jump into sports and what's coming up this weekend. What is this weekend? We're coming up on the 26th.
Yeah, it should be last weekend. Yeah, last weekend of September.
Yep. So the 25th will be Thursday Night Football. Things will be kicking off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got Thursday Night Football. You kind of have one of those interesting weeks this week with some, international competition stuff going down, which will be fun for us all to watch.
Mm-hmm. International football.
Yeah, international football.
That means we got to get up at the butt crack of dawn to watch football.
Yeah.
if your team is over there.
Yeah, and ours is. So we have the
2 weeks.
2 weeks in a row. And it's actually the first international game ever this week in Dublin, Ireland.
Dang.
It's going to be an absolute party if you're at the game, I'm sure.
All the pubs are going to be popping.
Probably a few or thousands and thousands of Guinness going down.
Definitely.
It's definitely going to be a crazy one. And you got the dynamic of us playing the Steelers, which is going to have Aaron Rodgers, which was talked about all offseason that the Vikes should have signed him.
Are you guys good and stocked up on Guinness?
Yeah, we're pretty good stocked
Fantastic.
up. Yeah.
Make sure before the games this week.
Yep.
I know it's the morning,
Yep.
but guess what? It's football season. You can drink in the morning.
There's also NA.
Yep, you could do that, but don't be a wimp. Just get
Fair
up,
enough.
get up and have your Guinness, okay?
Yeah, have a Guinness for the game. But yeah, it's
We don't advise doing that every day.
No.
But it's a special time of year where our team, if you're a Vikings fan, is playing in Dublin. So drink a Guinness.
Yeah, it's definitely a good time. If you're a football fanatic, there's nothing better than watching football from 8:30 in the morning till about 10:30 at night.
Amen, brother.
So it's one of those, if that's what you're looking forward to this next weekend, that's something to look forward to on Sunday. Couple other good games this week on the docket, at least in the NFL world. You have a massive 3-0 matchup this week. You got the Buccaneers going against the Eagles in Tampa Bay. I truthfully believe both these teams are probably playoff teams, but I don't necessarily think they're as good as their record says they are. It's a hot take. I know they're 3-0. The Eagles have played some really tough games. They haven't necessarily blown out teams. So I think it's one of those, they should have lost this last week to the Rams. So it'll be interesting to see. The unfortunate thing for the Bucs is there's probably a good chance that Mike Evans is going to be out for a little bit. He's got a hamstring injury, got pulled up in that game, so their best receiver might be out. The only thing I did know and note of this morning was that it sounds as if Chris Godwin has an opportunity to make his return on Sunday, which could be a huge help. Otherwise, watch out for Emeka Egbuka. The rookie sensation out of Ohio State for Tampa has been on fire to start the year. So early and often see him getting targeted. He's going to play that same route kind of slot guy as like Puka Nacua did this past week for the Rams. So that'd be an interesting one to watch for sure.
No doubt.
Another highly talented matchup, which I can't believe I'm saying this in week 4, but the Colts playing the Rams in LA. I think the Rams are one of those teams that, given their schedule and given their division, I think they're a good team and a good chance that they can make a run this year. I think that they have one of the best front seven defenses, at least younger front seven defenses in the NFL. In terms of playoffs, we saw it last year where they made a run, and had they, pulled that one out in Philly, they might have been World Series champs. So I think they're that good. I think they should be 3-0. They definitely should have beaten Philly this past week. So I think if they can correct those mistakes, that could be absolutely massive for the Rams. But the Colts have shocked people so far this year. I think a 4-0 win to start the year in LA.
Right.
Well, I mean, at what point do you got to say they're legit? Their rest of their division, get this, guys, is 2-7. 2-7, the other three teams in their division. So a 4-0 start, wow, would that be an uphill climb for anybody to come back on those guys?
No doubt.
So,
you know what I was just thinking about, because we were talking about the Rams?
yeah.
California has 3 teams. They did
do.
have 4.
They did.
And then one obviously moved to Las Vegas.
Correct.
And then I was starting to think about population, right?
Right.
Some states struggle to get one team because
Yeah.
of their population. And it's like,
Sure.
you think about San Diego, you think about LA.
Incorrect.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Chargers moved 4 years ago to Los Angeles.
Oh, duh.
So there's actually 2 teams in LA.
2 teams back in LA again.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because the Raiders were up in Oakland.
They were in Oakland, yeah.
Yeah.
And they moved to Las
So you got San
Vegas.
Francisco, now you got 2 LA teams.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, like, there are 54 million people in California.
Oh, yeah.
And there's only
3.
There's only 3 million here.
Yeah.
3.5 million,
Whatever,
something like that.
yeah.
9 times more people
Yeah.
in the state of California than in Minnesota. That's just mind-blowing.
Right. It's kind of staggering to think that 2 of them are located in the exact same place.
Right.
Play the same stadium, and people wonder why that's the craziest traffic in the world.
Yeah.
Because, you have the most conjugated state probably in
Right.
terms of the big cities, and they all come to that one city for
Yep.
given events.
Yep.
It's every single week there's a game there, whether it's the Chargers
Right.
playing or it's the Rams.
Yep.
And sometimes they play twice. So they'll have a Thursday night or a Monday night game, and then they'll have the other team play on Sunday.
And then, God forbid, once basketball season starts, you got the Staples Center just roaring nonstop.
Crypto.com center.
Sorry, you're right. I'm
Arena.
not keeping up with all the different name changes
Yeah.
of everything,
Yeah.
and everybody moving all over the place.
Crypto.com. Got to put some credit in the crypto space.
Crypto.com, baby.
Yeah.
I'm in Bonk right now, and it's not doing as good as I wanted it to.
It's unfortunately, Staples lost that sponsorship. Crypto's making too much money, so that is
So I'm pretty sure Staples isn't making too much money.
Yeah.
Because the printer space
is
kinda
kind of going
taking a
away.
dive.
Yeah, it's taking a dive. The digital age and the world we're in now, it's not ideal. And with the Clippers, they officially just opened this past year their brand new stadium as well.
Oh, really?
In Santa Clara.
Wow.
So yeah, well, Santa Clara would be the new stadium for the Dubs, and then you got theirs in Inglewood. So Inglewood is where the Clippers stadium is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was like a $5.6 billion project. Yeah, crazy
the money
stuff.
some people have.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just crazy.
It is. It's out there.
And you can make that investment because the sport's going to make it for you.
Yeah, it's the rate of return is hopefully what you expect it to be if your team's any good.
Right.
And if the highly talented sports that are the NBA and NFL in terms of revenue, it gives you that ability to do so.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's definitely one of those that's an interesting topic to discuss. Definitely.
No doubt.
But I guess back to some of the kind of forecasted matchups we're looking at. After the Monday night loss, the Ravens unfortunately are going to be 1-2, and they play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So you're going to have a 1-2 matchup of 2 teams that most people going into the season were saying probably the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
It's we're in a world where one of those teams is going to be 1-3 after that game. I think it's definitely going to be probably the most watched matchup of the week. I think it's going to be one of those where there's a good chance you might see Taylor Swift.
What? Wait, huh?
It might be one of those where she makes an appearance in Arrowhead. But I think the most interesting injury news is that I think Isaiah Likely, the tight end last year, who had that where his toe was literally on the white out of bounds line to end that game. He is potentially going to be back for this matchup, so that would be something to look out for. I know it will be discussed throughout the week, just in terms of him being that guy.
Right.
And so the Ravens need to get it corrected on defense if they want to have a shot in that game. I really do think that in order for them to win games this year, they got to figure out something to stop the run and hopefully get a couple wins going, because Lamar Jackson is not going to be in the MVP caliber condition and shape and age forever.
Right.
So you want to kind of capitalize eventually on maybe getting them a Super Bowl.
Yep.
they do play in a really tough AFC where there's a lot of good quarterbacks.
Yep.
There's a lot of good quarterbacks. We've seen it this year already. Like the team we talked about, we got like Patrick Mahomes, who's now been to 5 out of the last 6 Super Bowls.
Yep.
You got Josh Allen in Buffalo. You know, you got a Justin Herbert for the Chargers. You got Bo Nix is looking good for Denver. I mean, you got Joe Burrow, who unfortunately is down with injury right now. But, I mean, it's a really good AFC at quarterback. And so I think when it comes to the Ravens, they got to figure it out because I do think Lamar's the cream of the crop there in terms of athletically. But Mahomes seems to get those wins. So I wouldn't put it past the Chiefs to get that one this week. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting one.
No doubt.
So
Chiefs are they got that dynasty feel.
yeah, they got that dynasty feel. They've been there. They've done that. They've experienced it. They've won the close games. They've gotten a lot of calls in favor of themselves. I mean, people,
and a lot of the core has been there for
the duration of it. Yeah, yeah. And defensive coordinator, head coach, you know, Kelsey, Mahomes, some of the linemen. It just is going to be one of those things with all the injuries they've had. That's the thing to keep an eye on. If they can string together like 3-4 wins, you know, and they're 4-2 going into week 7, they get Rashee Rice back off suspension. You know, Xavier Worthy's going to come back healthy off his shoulder injury.
Yep.
You know, now you're looking at a team that can make a run real quickly, you know, versus what they look like right now. So it's one of those things that if you're Baltimore, this is the chance to pounce because this is the worst that they're going to be for the year.
Yep.
You know, so that'll be an interesting one to watch on Sunday afternoon. And then probably a good chance that this will be the most talked about game all week. What do you think? Packers at Cowboys.
Well, like we talked about in the last episode, the Dodgers in baseball are kind of America's team, right?
100%.
And the Cowboys are kind of America's team when it comes to the NFL.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everybody's going to keep their eye on this bad boy.
I mean,
and it's a Sunday night game, so there's not much else going on.
Sunday night, they also got Micah Parsons, the highly talented defensive end, making his return home to Dallas. I think it's going to be one that'll be talked about. We did see rumors that they do not plan to give him any kind of tribute. So, you know, he's only been there for 4 years, so it's understandable, but I think that'll be just fuel to the fire for a guy like that. And I'd be watching out if I'm Dak because I think I'm going to get hit a few times. There is unfortunate news on the injury front for the Cowboys. It sounds as if CeeDee Lamb has a high ankle sprain. So it looks like he's going to be out a minimum 2 to 4 weeks. So obviously for your fantasy teams out there, but also for, you know, just watching one of the best receivers in football, he's going to be not there on Sunday and he might not be there for a couple weeks. So Dallas is going to have a tough stretch here. They're going to have to figure it out because they could end up going 1-3 to start the year with a loss on Sunday night. So, I mean, for a team that's got as much money invested as they are, this is where the $60 million quarterback Dak Prescott needs to come to life and be special. So look for a lot of George Pickens and Jake Ferguson over the middle in that game. So
crazy. It's
going to be an interesting one. And then another topic of discussion for the NFL that they had going into this year is they determined that their noon and 3 o'clock windows were oversaturated. So they actually are implementing a new thing that every other week they're going to try to do 2 games on Monday nights. Because
starting at the same time?
No, they're gonna be stacked if they can.
Oh,
so they're gonna try to
start one.
You know, so I believe last week there was 2 games. There was Tampa Bay versus the Texans at 6, and then you had the Raiders Chargers at 9.
Oh wow!
You know, so they're basically the thought process is that more people then can watch more football, which means there's more money and more people can be more satisfied with the coverage because. As much as we all would like to say we could watch 8 games at noon, it's physically impossible to watch them all at the same time.
Definitely not.
Unless you have, 8 TVs.
Right.
And all power to you. Hey, I'd love to see the setup.
Maybe we should set up a setup like that here
would be,
for us.
Yeah, that would be pretty wicked. I'm not going to lie. But
Speaking of states with a lot of teams, New York Jets.
New York Jets.
New York Giants.
Yep.
And the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, you are correct.
Another state with 3 teams.
But here's actually an interesting note you don't know.
I don't know.
Where is actually the Meadowlands?
I don't know.
It's actually in New Jersey.
Oh,
and that's where the Jets and Giants play. So technically, they're a New York team. They're a New Jersey team. So technically, the only New York team is the Bills.
Wow,
that's a little interesting anecdote you did not know. I actually went and checked out that stadium when I was out there in New Jersey back in November.
Oh, crazy!
So yeah, it's actually in New Jersey. So it's a weird thing.
That is weird.
The issue is with regards to space, New York's very populated, right? And so if it wasn't allotted for their space to be a big giant stadium.
Yep.
There's more the price per square foot or per square miles for this. You got in New Jersey was way cheaper to build the stadium.
Oh, for sure.
Rather than taking out blocks of New York neighbors.
Right.
And also it's just one of those things that it's not that big a deal to consumers that don't know.
Right.
It's
I
not that
I didn't know.
You didn't know. You didn't know. That's the crazy part. There's some crazy little nuances on stuff like that too, But those Monday night matchups this week, the Jets do play the Dolphins, and then you got the Broncos versus the Bengals in Denver. I think this is where the Broncos kind of show everybody that hasn't seen them play this year that they're a team to potentially make one of those wild card slots or win that division. I think they're a really good roster. The Bengals, unfortunately, are in a situation where they're playing with a backup quarterback. That does hurt your chances in terms of just being successful with no Joe Burrow. We saw him play the Vikes this past week. Unfortunately, they did not look that great. I would say almost awful. And so I think it's going to be an interesting one there. But something to look out for, coming into next week. You got 2 games Monday night.
Hot dang. There it is.
Yeah, that's your kind of little preview. There's obviously other games going on. We kind of just wanted to highlight some of the ones we thought are, more anticipated matchups, more high, end options, or even the cool little one with, going over to Dublin. So, you have an opportunity to watch a lot of football next week is basically what you can learn from what we talked about today.
Not only that, but also in the future, as this thing continues to grow, the podcast continues to grow, we'll have a dedicated show just for the NFL.
Sure.
And we'll put that out there. So we'll cover everyone.
Yeah.
Right now, as we're kind of getting started, we're just going to hit the highlights of everything that we can, big things we think are coming, and then, we'll keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of keeping it moving, let's get to the feeder teams.
Yeah, let's get to the feeder teams. Yeah. So I honestly think that this might be the slate of slates. So on Saturday for the NCAA football, you have 3 matchups of teams that are all in the top 17. That is, in terms of stacked, is an understatement. I think it's going to be one of the greatest slates of football that you could watch, and the games are all stacked a little bit, so you can watch all of them. The first one, slightly biased, but I think you're going to see is Georgia-Alabama. I think in terms of in recent memory, the last 10 years, that's been probably the most watched, scrutinized, discussed, rivalry in sports, just because they've played each other so many times on the big stage. Played for a lot of national championships, SEC championships. Both these teams look completely different than they have in years past. You got no Nick Saban. You got maybe Georgia not at the best in terms of their talent on their roster, not a high-end quarterback, one of those things. So it's in Georgia. That does favor the Dogs. Bama's 17th and Georgia's 5. So in terms of that, the only reason Bama's down at 17 is they lost a really tough game to Florida State to start the year. Ooh. But at that time they were unranked. Now they're in the top 10.
Oh wow!
So Bama's been battle tested already this year. That is one thing in their favor. Georgia really hasn't. They barely pulled off a win this past week against Tennessee. So it will be an interesting one to see what that looks like. And both teams are on a bye. So they're both rested, So this is going to be one of those where you got hopefully everybody coming in 100% healthy, and it's going to be one of the most talked about for sure.
No doubt.
So, staying in the SEC, another just highly talented SEC matchup right here. You got LSU.
LSU, baby. Shout out Livy Dunn.
There you go, Livy Dunn. And Paul Skeens. There you go. And you got versus Ole Miss. It's at Ole Miss. So the biggest concern in regards to LSU and Brian Kelly's tenure has been the games they should win against ranked teams. They don't. Ooh. So I think Ole Miss is not as good of a football team, but they are at home. And with LSU, they have not looked really great in terms of moving the ball this year. This is the first year, in recent history, where they haven't had an absolute legit wide receiver 1. They had guys like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. Those guys are legit NFL wide receivers. Some of the guys they have on their roster, might be, kind of midday, late day picks potentially, but not necessarily the bona fide superstars. So the quarterback's going to have to step up, and Brett Nessmeyer here, he's potentially in the top 5 as a Heisman favorite. So this is going to be one of those games that's like a prove it, show who you are kind of thing.
Yep.
But prove you're an NFL quarterback, prove you're a Heisman favorite, go go win this game in the SEC on the road. One of the toughest things to do in football is win on the road against a rival.
Yep.
You know, and so if he can go accomplish that task, that would be honestly just really impressive, because I don't necessarily think it's as favored in LSU's favor going into this game. I think Ole Miss could shock some people. So
Watch out, Ole Miss.
yeah, watch out.
Wait, watch out, LSU.
Yeah, there you go. Watch out for Ole Miss.
Watch out, Paul Skeens.
Yeah, exactly.
plays.
Watch out.
In the MLB now.
And then I would say this is probably the other big matchup of the week. When it comes to college football, we probably talk about it the most is the Big Ten and the SEC. Just historically speaking, those are the most dominant conferences.
Big Ten, baby.
You know, Big Ten, yep. And so when it comes to this matchup, you got a Big Ten matchup. You got Oregon versus Penn State, and it's at Penn State. Oregon's got some question marks in regards to, you know, playing a highly talented team like Penn State. Oregon's got basically a true freshman quarterback in Dante Moore, who's a really great player. Penn State, you know, made that deep run last year, and being that they're the 3 seed, they got both starting running backs back from last season at home. I mean, this is one of those where it's like, okay, prove that you're not there as a fluke. Prove that you are a legit chance to win the national championship this year. And I think it's one of those that could be really close, could be low scoring, you know, where it's like one of those like 17-14, 20-17, you know, something like that, where it's a very low scoring game.
How much is jet lag going to play a part?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've talked about this in the past, and with these new expansions with regards to these conference realignments, some of these teams that literally played in the Pac-12, like on the West Coast, play teams all the way on the East Coast.
That's crazy.
It's
that's 4 hours of time difference.
And my whole stance on that is it's okay in regards to certain sports. My thing is when you think about the smaller sports that they have to play these teams and not just like the big ones.
Sure.
You know, because obviously Oregon football, Penn State football, those are powerhouse teams, powerhouse programs.
Right.
You know, they've been on the map forever. Okay, how about Oregon lacrosse versus Penn State lacrosse?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, how about, you know, the swim and dive teams? How about, you know, like the soccer teams? You know, like these, because they all have to play each other. They're in the same conference.
Yep.
So like these schools are paying for these kids to play, you know, all the way across the country because of football. Like,
not only that, but like the time change benefits one side more than the other.
100%. And it goes back to that concept of basically what's happening is that these conferences are realigning just for football.
Yeah.
And we talked about it earlier, how predominant football and like the NBA is in terms of conferences, that it's translating now to the college world. Like these colleges are basically sacrificing some of these students' time, money, sleep, success in sports because of the football schedule.
Just for,
you know what I mean? Like it's actually nuts. Like I think something needs to be addressed in regards to setting. I mean, on a Thursday, there's no reason that a Penn State soccer player should have to travel to Oregon to play a soccer game.
Exactly.
How are they playing? How are they going to class?
Yep.
How are they getting an education? I mean, they're supposed to be student athletes.
Right.
And what this is
Not
telling me,
students.
they're being athlete students.
Right.
Like, as much as I love sports, and that's why you're watching this podcast because you love sports, there's got to be a component where we're like, these people, not all of them are going to play professional.
Right.
You know, they're going to work in the real world just like everybody else is, you know? And so they need to get an education that they can have something to stand on when they're done, you know? Like, there's only so many people that are going to play pro sports, and it's just such a crazy concept to me that they're just let these guys. I mean, that's just one example.
Think about all the colleges that are out there, just in the United States alone, right? And only the top of those teams are going to make it to professional. So 90% of that team has got to figure out a different job.
Oh, at least 97.
Right.
The stats like about 3.4% actually are pro athletes.
Right. So like a giant part of your team is just there to support the 3%.
Yeah. Like, how crazy of a concept is that? You know, like we're talking about a legit $1 billion industry, all determining like all these colleges and all the kids that go to them. Like, it's just honestly
shifting so much of so many people's lives.
Oh my!
For 3%.
Yeah, because football plays once a week. You know, you know what I mean? Like these guys that play like 45 games, like how about a Oregon softball has to go play Rutgers softball?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like that's actually mind blowing.
Yeah.
You know, because like what it does is then they got to play them like in back-to-back doubleheaders.
Yep.
Because you can't afford to fly for one softball game.
Right.
Versus if you played a team that's on your side of the field.
Yep.
And you got Washington. They're also in the Big Ten. So you got two of those teams, and it's like, and USC.
Yeah.
So it's like, so yeah, USC and Oregon, I think for sure, but it's just one of those that's just crazy to me. I don't know. Hopefully they find a better solution.
Right.
But it's going to end up being that the world we live in is like two big conferences. Yeah. That's my call in the end. And it's at what point is is this enough?
Yeah.
When does the money hungry people just be like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, it'll never happen. Greed is always going to be there, sadly, and that.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate
really
part.
sucks.
That's the world that we're in.
Yeah,
it just you always want more. You're always going to strive to do more and try to make more.
Yeah,
so
until the world implodes. But speaking of jet lag, it's the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, it's the Ryder Cup. It's the highly anticipated Team USA versus Team Europe.
Where are we playing this year?
It's actually at Bethpage Black. We're in the U.S., baby. Come on.
So they've got to deal with the jet lag.
Exactly.
Now, here's the difference about professional sports is, especially golf.
Yeah.
Generally, your team can get there a week in advance.
Yes.
Start the process of getting yourself out of the jet lag, and so you're more ready for the game. Where college, like we just talked about, you're at school the day before.
Exactly.
You're jumping on a plane that night, and you're heading over. Exactly. So it's like, this is a little bit more, you're a professional now.
Yeah.
You're getting paid to do this. So
millions of dollars.
Exactly. Suck it up and get out there and play some jet lagged golf. We don't care. Speaking of the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
There it is. The Elijah Craig small batch Ryder Cup. Now, this one's different. The first time they've done something like this.
Yeah.
It's Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, obviously, finished with toasted sugar maple and applewood staves. I still haven't tried it, but that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's the first time that they did a stave finished small batch. So for this Ryder Cup, a lot of times what they've done in the past is they've just done a limited release, basically age stated thing. But this is the first time they've done something with regards to manipulating the juice.
There you go.
So yeah, that'll
Ryder Cup time.
Yeah, Ryder Cup time right here.
Can't beat it.
Yeah. So it's definitely some of the guys to look out for. Because this is obviously maybe not everyone's a huge golf fanatic. The first topic of discussion is Keegan Bradley. So Keegan Bradley is actually decided not to be a playing captain this year, which was a pretty highly discussed topic in regards to the golf space. He's played phenomenal. He's won a couple tournaments. He's been in contention. But he was picked 2 years ago. So when it comes to the Ryder Cup, you get picked 2 years in advance to be the captain, which means then you select the team. And so he thought that his role was to be the captain, and he wanted to focus on that role.
Sure.
So a lot of respect goes out to him, because I actually truly believe that he was good enough this year to play on the roster. And he was snubbed 2 years ago of being on the team as well. So to not play is honestly a really, really grown man move.
No doubt.
All power to him. But some of the guys to look out for, probably the more recognizable names, at least to some of you guys. You got Rory McIlroy.
Let's go.
Team Europe. You got John Rahm from Live Golf.
Wow.
Yeah, and you got Tommy Fleetwood. You got the FedEx Cup champion.
He's
been on a tear. So
he's been crushing it.
Yeah, he's been crushing it. So he'll be a guy that maybe 4 or 5 years ago you'd be like, Tommy Fleetwood. Now it's like Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah.
And
the memes are everywhere about this guy.
For sure. It's all over the place. And then you got Robert McIntyre. And then Victor Hovland. So Hovland was a FedEx Cup champ a couple years back. So very good team. Those are kind of the highlighted guys. And
here comes the winning team.
Yeah, and then here's the winning team. I'd love to hear in the comments after we talk about who's on this roster, who you guys think is got favored going into the weekend, and then we'll kind of give our opinion as well. But I thought you got Scotty Scheffler. He's been on an unreal tear. He's the best golfer in the world, and it's phenomenal. Unquestionable.
Yep. Fight us.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah.
Seriously.
If you got somebody else who's better, it might be the guy I'm going to say next, who's also on Team US, which is Bryson DeChambeau.
Also really freaking good.
So I mean, Luckily, they didn't, put the live golf thing to aside, and they let him, be on the roster, because, that was always a discussion, how many live golfers would be on the team. So I'm glad that they let him be on it because, man, is he electric. There's not many guys that can hit the ball as hard and far and as fast as he can.
That dude can bomb that thing.
He just brings the energy. So he'll be a fun one to watch this week. That's going to be a good one. Xander Schauffele, he's been a guy who's, competed on the highest level, and he's won a lot. He's won a gold medal. He's won a lot of tournaments. Last year, he won 2 majors. So he's been really hot. Justin Thomas, JT, he's one of those guys that kind of flies under the radar, but he does really good match play. So with this format, he's a really good asset to the team. And then Colin Morikawa, probably the smoothest swing in golf, in my opinion. He's really, really solid. He's just consistent. He's not one of those guys that's going to be like, okay, this guy goes 12 under, but he's just a guy who's always going to be in contention. He's always around the leaders, and he just seems to play really good, and his irons are the best in the game. So I do think the advantage definitely goes in favor of Team US here, but I don't know what your thoughts are. But
I'm 100% in agreement.
Yeah, I think you have to let us know who you think wins.
Honestly, the only 2 people on their team that I'd be worried about would be McIlroy and Fleetwood, but
yeah, it's just
like there's so much more depth, it feels like, on our team.
Because it's just tough to say because it's all match play dependent,
Right.
And so you got guys that historically are great tournament golfers, but they're not great match play golfers.
Sure.
And so that's the thing that'll be interesting to see. And it's all about if the putter gets hot.
Yep.
All it takes is like 2 or 3 guys, and that can carry you all the way through because they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's when to look out for. So they play 3 days. There's different match play events. There's some tandems, there's some singles, so be on the lookout for that. Then Sunday is straight up stroke play, again 1v1, so be on the lookout. That'll be an awesome thing to watch. I think it's a really tough golf course. The only guy I think that should have been on the team, but he hasn't played real hot, is Brooks Koepka. He does hold the record on Bethpage Black for lowest score, and it's just one of those things where he hasn't been good this year, and so I think it's going to be one of those things that might come back to bite us in the butt a little bit at the end. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting one nonetheless.
26th, 27th, and 28th September 2025. Just in case you're listening to this episode later to see our hot takes in the future, we wanted to let you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, check it out. And so on other sports news, we got the WNBA going on right now. You're going to have kind of like the rest of this second round series, so it's a best of 5. Both teams, you got the Fever up 1-0, you got the Lynx up 1-0, and you got game 2 on Tuesday night, and then following with the games on Thursday, Friday, and then potentially games going into the weekend, depending on if the series goes the length. So it's gonna be an interesting one to watch. The Lynx are probably the favorite in their series.
Yep.
I'd say going into the series, the Aces were heavily favored over the Fever, so I think there could be an opportunity where the Lynx maybe pick up a little sweep.
Grab yourself a bottle of the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Lynx if you're up here in Minnesota. They're everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Specifically, go to 7-Ace Liquor in Bloomington.
We got it too. Yeah, the Lynx should get a sweep, and if they do, that could be huge because they could get some rest. I think that other series could go 5 games.
Yep.
That's kind of where I'm at on that, and I think it would be interesting. I like the upset. I'm a big believer that in sports anybody can win. So I'm going to take the Fever. It's probably an unpopular opinion. I'm just not a big believer in the Aces outside of Asia Wilson.
You say Caitlin Clark is out right now?
She is out, and I'm still taking her. I'm still taking the Fever. I don't know what it is. Sports is one of the craziest things. Like, I've watched so many sports in my day, and you never know who's going to win.
Right.
You got a team.
We saw it last week in the NFL.
Yeah.
So many upsets.
And you got a team like, that, and depending on the sport, you can go off so many references, a team that went all the way to win the whole thing that you don't expect, and you got stuff like that happens. And I think it's just a crazy thing that you got to love, you can't not. So it's interesting. I think that's my finals prediction. I think I got Fever playing the Lynx, but that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye out. Obviously, it'd be more talked about, more watched in the market if Caitlin was playing.
Right.
So it's unfortunate, but either way, it'll be a good.
Why is she out?
Yeah, she's got a groin injury. Actually,
oh, right on.
She's been out for most of the season.
Dang.
So yeah, it's a tough one to rehab.
No doubt.
So yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
MLB, baby.
Yeah, MLB. Yeah, basically you got 1 week left. You should be seeing the first round wild card games on Saturday. So we'll have kind of more of an updated understanding of, who's playing where and, who makes it in and whatnot. But I think it's going to be an interesting postseason. I think there are teams that have, maybe better rosters, more depth, but baseball in October is always the craziest.
Yeah.
A couple years back, we saw the Tigers make an absolute run.
Right.
Like that's a team that, on paper had one of the lowest salary caps in baseball, and they made a run all the way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I think it's going to be one of the most highly, anticipated matchups, going into the postseason. You got the Phillies, who are always right in the discussion. You got the Dodgers, who are always going to be there. They're just that good. But you got a team Milwaukee that shocked people this year, the Brewers.
Oh, wow.
You got best record in baseball right now.
Dang.
It's just you don't know. And if Seattle stays hot, they have a lot of home run power. They can put up a lot of runs. The Houston Astros are always there. They're just always in the discussion. The Tigers, they've kind of been a little bit on a slow turn lately. The Guardians have been on fire though. So those are teams that they can make a run. All it takes in baseball is being hot at the right time.
Right.
You have your pitchers throwing well, your hitters are hitting great. You're scoring a lot of runs, not giving any up. The Yankees, I don't know why you wouldn't consider them. They have one of the best rosters in baseball.
Yep.
But also watch out for the Sox. The Sox, after they made that Rafi Devers trade, they've been phenomenal this year.
Yep.
So it's going to be a fun one to watch. We'll probably have more updated discussions and matchups and, predictions as we get into, the coming weeks, being that there's going to be a long, long way. We've got about a month and a half left of baseball. So
buckle up.
Be ready for that. And so that'll be a good time.
There you have it.
Yeah.
That's what we think is coming up.
Yeah.
That's what we think is going to shake out. So lots going on this weekend.
Yeah, lots going on.
Sports across the board.
100%. Yeah, there's some
football, golf, WNBA,
Yep.
MLB. You should not have any problem finding something to watch.
Yeah, there should be something on almost any given day. So
it's all heating up. WNBA, MLB is heating up into
playoff time.
Obviously, the Ryder Cup is a big heated thing. It's nation against nation against nations.
Yep.
So it's that's a big thing. Obviously, the NFL is always cooking. So yeah, it's just a great weekend to be watching sports.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. This thing's just heating up as well.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Big things coming. We'll see you all in the next one.
All right. Peace.